Archaeologists have finally found something that proves that God is 100% real. Now, this is one of the biggest discoveries that humankind has ever made so far, because they just found the sulfur balls and an entire city that is completely burned down and was submerged under the water. And now that the entire river is dry, and archaeologists just discovered that there is a whole entire city that looks exactly as mentioned in the Old Testament, also known as the Torah. And for those of you guys who don't know, there was a city named Sodom and Gomorrah, which had a massive civilization of humans that were committing sins, which is very similar to what we do these days in our generation. One of the craziest sins that God was really not happy with back in those times was the thing that is also growing in our current generation, which is known as the LGBTQ, and homosexuality being normalized was the biggest sin back in those times that God was not able to tolerate. And obviously, for those of you guys who haven't read the Torah in the Old Testament, back in those times, God was not really very merciful, to be honest. So when God witnessed that this city named Sodom and Gomorrah was committing excessive sins, he decided to rain down millions of fiery sulfur balls. And what does these sulfur balls do? It basically just burns down the entire city, with all the men and women and children and basically all the livestock, everything completely destroyed because of all the sins becoming excessively generalized back in those times. And back then, God really liked this one dude named Lot, who is someone that also lived in the same city. But then God ends up warning Lot and his family in order to leave before he rains down the fiery sulfur balls into the city and destroys it completely. Now, this is what happened in the Old Testament of the Bible, or even in the Torah. And what's interesting is that there is this archaeologist named Expedition Bible on YouTube. He ended up going to this location where the Sodom and Gomorrah city is located, and here he found out that the entire city was completely burned down. And if you walk down into the city, you'll actually find that it is completely filled.
And this is the site that the archaeologists associated with Gomorrah.
Look at this stuff. Every single thing in the entire place is like completely burned down. The whole mountain and the valleys and everything, it's completely burned down. And currently it looks like a mountain, but then back in those times, it was an actual city with millions of people living in there. So the whole thing was completely destroyed. So the entire city was completely destroyed, and it was burned down to ashes by the sulfur balls that started raining down from heaven.
So here you can see that ashy layer that's just underneath the surface. This is full of burned pottery. It's full of the fragments of human bones. The question is what evidence is there of this burning sulfur that rained down? Well,
look at that stuff.
It seems that the culprit are these sulfur balls that are also found in this area.
That's crazy, dude. So obviously, you know that if you go down to this location and if you start digging, you'll see a lot of human bones from back in those times. And there were millions of people that used to live in the city, and everybody were burned down because of all the sins that they've been committing. Now here what happens is that the archaeologists, they try to research the location and see if they can find any sulfur balls, but then there were not many sulfur balls left in that location, because the property of a sulfur is in such a way that once it starts burning, it doesn't stop burning until it's completely consumed 100%. So no matter what it is, it's not going to stop burning, and it's going to burn each and everything in its way, including the entire city and its people with it. Now obviously this means that all the sulfur balls that kind of just rained down in the city is almost 90% already consumed by the fire. So there were only very few pieces that was left out, which the museum started collecting, and they kind of just kept this in there because this was some sort of a biblical museum that you can go down to Jerusalem and you can actually take a look at this stuff, where you can actually go down to Israel to this archaeological museum, and you'll actually find that they have all of these historical monuments saved down in this museum. And here you can see this is basically what the sulfur looks like, which rained down from heaven. And that's because obviously, as we have already spoken, sulfur, once it starts burning, you can't really preserve it. It's basically going to get completely consumed unless it lands into some sort of a water body, which means that there was also a massive river near the city of Sodom and Gomorrah. So the archaeologists decided that the river that was flowing all the way from Sodom and Gomorrah that was connecting to the Euphrates River, which is now almost dried up, and this is also something that you can see in the prophecy of Revelation in the Bible, that it already says that the river is going to be completely dry, and after that happens is when the Antichrist is going to be showing himself. And what the archaeologists did is that they went to this site where the river is now completely dried up, and to their surprise, they noticed that there was an entire city that was completely submerged, which for the very first time, they're now able to go ahead and take a look at this massive city with all the archaeological evidence, digging up stuff. And now, luckily, they ended up finding something fascinating. Just take a look at this.
How many? So this is a sulfur ball. Sulfur balls. All these are sulfur balls. Here, here, here.
Oh my goodness.
Look at all of them. There. Sulfur ball. Sulfur ball.
And this is the place where like the entire city was like completely burned down, and these sulfur balls, can you believe it? They just rained down from heaven. This was from God himself. And this is the place where there was like a massive river flowing down, and right now it's like completely dried up, and the sulfur balls that landed into the water, they still survived because they were not consumed by fire because of the water body that was present in there. So these sulfur balls, they ended up landing all around here. So if you go down to this place, currently it looks like a mountain. Entire place is going to be filled with thousands and millions of sulfur balls that is already mentioned in the Bible. And the archaeologists, they start digging this stuff up. Look at that stuff. You can basically find sulfur balls all over the place, and that's insane. I think he also tries to burn it in order to show us like how this works.
Formation,
look at this
you
stuff.
can see sulfur balls.
It's stuck everywhere, like in all the places, like the mountains, and anywhere you just go by, you're going to be finding these sulfur balls.
In situ, in place, they're placed right here in this particular layer. So
that's insane, man. That's a huge sulfur ball. And these things only survive because of water?
So what they're doing is they're eroding out of this, right? And then washing down in the ravines.
That is crazy.
So you have all of these preserved in this geological layer that goes and goes and goes, and so that's where they're coming from.
And then he also tries to burn this thing up, I think.
But be careful, because man, when you get a whiff of these things,
it just gets consumed completely. Look at that. This is basically how it looks like when it's like burning, and it just comes raining down. Imagine millions of these sulfur, and it's going to be pretty much the same as how raindrops are just falling in when there's like massive heavy rain. But then instead of raindrops, you're going to be having these sulfur balls that are fiery, and there were millions of them that just fell down and burned down the entire city into complete ashes.
This is one of the reasons why
look at that stuff.
Sulfur balls would only be preserved in water. If they strike the land, then they're going to burn up. You can see the goo. It's just melting down to goo and then dripping off.
That looks like a marshmallow.
So really, anywhere that they would have landed on land, they would have burned up like this, and they would have burned anything flammable around them. This is how the cities and the plain were burned.
That's crazy. Now, this is not it, because we also have another fascinating discovery that the same archaeologists have just found. Where in the Old Testament and Torah, it also mentions that Lot and his family were spared, and God asked them to never look back and just keep running forward while the city is going to be completely burned down into ashes. And if any of you turns around and looks back at the city, God said that you will be cursed to turn into a pillar of salt. Now, this is where all the things went wrong, because while they were running, Lot's wife decided that she needs to turn back around and take a look at what's happening to the city. So once she did that, she was cursed and she turned into a pillar of salt. And guys, watch this closely, which is undeniable proof of Sodom and Gomorrah, the body of Lot's wife, which is completely turned into a pillar of salt, which also kind of looks like a womanish figure, but then it's a pillar and it's completely made out of salt. That's right next to Sodom and Gomorrah as they were running away. Just take a look at this stuff.
Of Lot's wife.
Look at this stuff.
Discovered near the Dead Sea, close to where Sodom and Gomorrah are thought to have been located, There is an unusual pillar that some claim is Lot's wife.
Look at that stuff.
Archaeologists have studied its
So apparently this, it kind of looks like a pillar. At the same time, it's very disfigured. She is the woman that turned into the pillar of salt. So they decided to go ahead and test the substance of whatever this rock-like substance is looking. And they found out that this whole substance is made out of 80% of pure salt. And that's
strange
just
shape,
crazy.
and found that it is composed of 80% salt. What makes this discovery so intriguing is that the Bible says God turned Lot's wife into a pillar of salt when she looked back at the burning cities. While it has not yet been confirmed whether she is encased within the salt, the site provides compelling evidence. This includes millions of pure sulfur balls, mountains of ash covering ancient buildings, and clear burn marks found throughout the area. The site also aligns perfectly with the biblical timeline and location described in Genesis, including Lot's cave, where he hid during Sodom's destruction.
So when Sodom and Gomorrah was destroying, Lot and his family, they kind of decided to go ahead and hide in a cave. So this right here is the cave in which Lot and his family were hiding when the entire city was burning down. And the archaeologists, they also managed to find out the cave in which Lot and his family was hiding. So all of these stuff,
This cave is
just
located near the ruins
undeniable
of the
proof.
cities
And
and
look at this
matches the
stuff.
geographical details provided in the biblical account. Local legend and archaeology also support the claim, with early Christians building a church around it as a sign of reverence, further adding credibility to the discovery.
That's crazy,
This is believed to be the actual remains of Lot's wife. Discovered near the Dead Sea, close to where Sodom and Gomorrah are thought to have been located,
That is
there is
crazy.
an unusual
That is
pillar
just
that some
crazy.
claim is Lot's wife.
So honestly, guys, I really don't know what to say. In order to going out there and exploring and finding out some of these historical evidence, and they've been doing some crazy research out there, man. And honestly, I really wanted to go ahead and make this video because a lot of people, they don't really understand that the scriptures and the Bible and the Torah and these all things are actually real. And everything that's written in there is an actual historical event. Like all the different histories like we humans have, like the Romans and the Greece empires, and we also have the Vikings that invaded England. And if we can believe all of these historical events to be real, but there are still some people out there in the world that find the scriptures of God very hard to be believable because they don't really have any solid proofs. And that is the reason why I decided to go ahead and take the time of my day in order to go ahead and make this video. So if you guys did find this video helpful, and if you guys did learn something really useful from this video, then please just make sure to go ahead and share this video with as many friends as you can. Share it with your family and share it with people that usually say that God isn't real. And there are some people that actually say that the Bible and the scriptures are fake. You know, it's all just fugazi, all the fake stuff. And if you know someone like that, then I think this video is definitely going to take them out of surprise. And I really wanted to go ahead and make this video in order to let people know and learn about the real truth by giving them an actual scientific proof as well as some archaeological evidence. I've been doing as much research as I possibly can in order to get all of these information gathered up so that I can make videos on this. Because let's say this video reaches out to 1 million people out there, then this means that at least out of 1 million people, 100,000 people are going to be interested in order to learn the scriptures of God and in order to know who God is and in order to go ahead and find out some of the historical evidence and study more and deep into all of these things, which might eventually get them closer to God. And at the end of the day, they might repent for all their sins and their souls might be saved. And me being a YouTuber that makes gaming content, I really wanted to drop out that content in order to make these, because life, as I've learned so far, it doesn't really matter no matter how much you achieve and do things in your life. But at the end of the day, the best thing that you can actually do in life is basically to do at least 1% of the effort that Jesus has put down on the cross out there in order to save all of us humans. So if you could just do anything that you possibly can with the platform that you have received, as God has decided to bless me with this platform and with all of your lovely audience, and if I can't use this platform in order to let people know and wake people up, which might eventually, at the end of the day, you never know, it might end up saving their souls, and someone who was destined to go to hell might end up in heaven, and they might remember me as one of those YouTubers that they used to watch that kind of just revealed them the truth, which then led them to go ahead and read more scriptures, learn about God, and finally walk in the path of Christ. There is nothing more valuable than this that I can take to my grave. So I really want every single one of you guys to go ahead and share this video to as many people as you possibly can. And also the most important part that each and every single one of you guys that's watching this video can do is to simply just drop a like on this video and also leave a comment. So what this basically does is that YouTube is a platform that only works based on the likes, comments, and interactions that a video gets. And if the video gets more likes, more comments, then YouTube kind of just thinks that the video is supposed to be shown to more people. So the more people this video reaches out to, the more people that will actually learn about God. So if you guys could just take a few seconds of your valuable time and do your part in supporting this content and sharing it, that would absolutely make my day. And yeah, with that being said, if you guys use Instagram, and if you are someone that just scrolls down onto all the reels and, you know, shares reels to your friends, then I would really appreciate it if you guys could go ahead and share some of the interesting reels that you might find online that could be related to some of the content that I can help spread on this channel and let more people know about those things. I would really appreciate it if you guys could just go ahead and share your reels and content on Instagram. My Instagram link will be down below in the description. You can just go ahead, look for Blackwoods. You'll find me there. You can go ahead and share anything that you have to on my Instagram. And I might not be able to reply to every single one of you guys, but then I will definitely be going through all the things that you guys send me in there. Because trust me, I'm just one person and there are so much content that you guys have been sharing with me, and it just gets really hard sometimes. But then I will definitely try to go ahead and look at everything that you guys have been sharing on my Instagram. And also, if you guys are interested in watching me post stories on Instagram about me making some delicious coffees, then yeah, you're welcome to go ahead and follow me there as well. Now, with that being said, hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you guys on the next one. Till then, take it easy, fams, and goodbye.